Okay, Namaskaram. So we are going to start a new padigam, and what we have been trying to do is to sample different arvars and different padigams of theirs. So we are now moving to a new arvar that we have not covered so far, Sri periyAzhvAr. And periyAzhvAr has composed more than 400 pasarams. So I'm selecting one particular padigam from Yashoda Bhavam here. I will explain the reason for this selection as we go through the introduction. So Sri periyAzhvAr has written a Prabandham called periyAzhvAr Tirumuri. And that periyAzhvAr Tirumuri, so this particular one is 1.5. And that padigam starts with the word tanmugattu. So that's why the padigam itself is referred to by that name. So this is part one. This is the first class in that series. So it'll probably take 4 to 5 classes to complete that. So one thing you will note is that we have been trying to sample padigams of different kinds. Some of them are philosophical, some of them are very emotional, etc. And this particular padigam is not exactly overwhelming in its philosophy. In fact, it is a very simple padigam, because the thing that is illustrated here is the love of a mother for her child. In this case, the mother happens to be Yashoda, and the child happens to be Krishna. And so that is a very special mother-child combination. And you will find that nobody has enjoyed little Krishna the child, more than periyAzhvAr, with the possible exception of Yashoda. And I say possible exception of Yashoda because when you look at the Yashoda Bhavam in periyAzhvAr Tirumuri, there are so many padigams in that group, and periyAzhvAr enjoys Krishna so much, you wonder if even Yashoda could have enjoyed that child as much as periyAzhvAr does. Okay. Anyway, so I think what we will do is, since we have already recited the Poduttaniyans, etc., in the context of the previous padigam, we will go directly to the avatarike. Okay, so we'll go directly to the avatarike. So we will start by saying something about periyAzhvAr, because this is the first padigam of periyAzhvAr that we are covering in this Prabandhams and Stotrams class. So we're talking about periyAzhvAr Vaibhavam. First of all, is Tirunakshatram is on the month of Ani, and the nakshatram is Swati. So it was celebrated recently, in the last couple of months or so. And his avatar sthalam is Sri Villiputtur, which is in Pandya Nadu. It's near Madurai, not far from Madurai. And of course, he's also known as the foster parent of Sri Andal. So Sri Andal's foster parent and Acharyan. So how many cases do you see where the father and child are both considered as arvars? And none except this particular combination. So sometimes you wonder what you will not give to eavesdrop, to be a fly on the wall, so to speak, in that particular house where the father and the child are both arvars. Both of them are great souls who enjoy the glory of Emperor. Okay. So anyway, she was Sri Andal's foster parent and Acharyan, and he did Pushpa Kainkaryam at the Vatapatra Shahi temple. Vatapatra Shahi temple. Vatapatra means the leaf of the banyan tree. Shahi means sleeping on it, lying on it. Of course, who lies or sleeps on the leaf of a banyan tree? That's Emperor. Was supposed to do that at the time of the pralaya, the time of destruction of the world, when he first, to keep the world safe, he swallows the whole world, and then he produces, when at the time of Srishti, he brings it out of his stomach. Okay, so he did Pushpa Kainkaryam, periyAzhvAr did Pushpa Kainkaryam at the Vatapatra Shahi temple, and you will, when you look at one of his padigams in periyAzhvAr Tirumuri, where he imagines himself to be Yashoda. So that Yashoda calls little Krishna to come so that the mother, Yashoda, can decorate him with flowers. So every pasuram in that padigam talks about a new kind of flower that she has ready for him. So for example, she will say in one pasuram, Shanbhaka Puchutavarai, I'm going to put Shanbhagappu on your head, so please come, O little Krishna. Another pasuram in that same padigam, Malligai Poo Chuttavarai. I have Malligai Poo as well, jasmine. So I'm going to put it on your head, so please come, O little Krishna. Padiri Poo Chuttavarai, Shangarini Chuttavarai, Punnai Poo Chuttavarai, Kurukatti Poo Chuttavarai, Iruvachi Poo Chuttavarai, Karmugai Poo Chuttavarai. So you can see that periyAzhvAr is using the knowledge that he uses in his everyday job of doing Pushpa Kainkariam at the Vatapatra Shahi temple. Of course, he knows a lot about flowers, and you see that knowledge very clearly displayed in some of the padigams or the pasurams that he has written. And it is a very beautiful, that's also, that padigam is part of the Yashoda Bhavam as well, where he imagines himself to be Yashoda, and he enjoys the child Krishna in that relationship. And the Prabandhams he has written, well, he has written one Prabandham called periyAzhvAr Tirumari, which has 473 pasurams in it. And this is the very first Prabandham of, so this has the honor of being the very first Prabandham of Nalayana Divya Prabandham. And that's not to say that chronologically this is the very first Prabandham. It is not. In fact, the first Arvars are the periyAzhvAr, Bhutatarvar, and periyAzhvAr. And so that what they wrote is not put in the front of the Nalayana Divya Prabandham. The sequence was compiled by Sri Nathamani, and Sri Nathamani put periyAzhvAr Tirumari as the first one, starting with Tirupallandu. And because Tirupallandu is such a glorious padigam that nobody has to give an excuse for putting that at the front of the Nalayana Divya Prabandham. So this is the very first Prabandham, this periyAzhvAr Tirumari, of which Pallandu is considered as a part. That is the very first Prabandham of the Nalayana Divya Prabandham. And this Arvar is also known as Vishnu Chittar, and you'll see that appearing in some of the signatures. Pattarviran is also Pattarviran, Godai Sunna, Sangat Tamil Malai Muppadam Dappame. Andal refers to him as Pattarviran in Tirupavai. Pattarviran, Godai Sunna, the Godai of Pattarviran, the Godai who is the daughter and the Shishya of this Pattarviran. So anyway, these are alternate names for him. And the story of Tirupallandu is an interesting one, because when we talk about the Thaniyans of periyAzhvAr Tirumari, there are three such Thaniyans, and all of them refer to that incident from which the Tirupallandu was born. So let me say briefly about that. Say something briefly about that. As I said, periyAzhvAr lived in Srivilliputtur, which is in the Pandya kingdom. And of course, in those days, the kings used to go around the city at night because they wanted to find out with their own eyes how their citizens are doing, what problems they were having, etc. Of course, you won't find today's government officials doing that, but the kings of the olden days did. So the Pandya king, his name was Vallabhadevan. So one day, one night, he went around the city, and the city of Madurai in this case. Madurai was the capital of the Pandya kingdom. And as he was going around the city, looking at it, inspecting it, trying to find out if all the citizens are happy, etc. So he sees a traveler sleeping on the porch, or at least lying down on the porch of a house. And so the king is intrigued by that, because he's wondering, why is this person sleeping on the porch? So he asks him, he says, who are you? Why are you sleeping on the porch? And this traveler says, well, I'm a traveler. I've been to the north, I've had Ganga Snanam, etc. So because I'm a traveler, I'm traveling through the city. So I'm sleeping on the porch here. There's no other mystery to this. And the Pandya king, Vallabhadevan, was very intrigued by that. And he said, well, if you've been to the north, and if you've had Ganga Snanam, etc., you probably have something, some wise things to say to me. Perhaps I can learn a few things from you. So tell me some, words of wisdom, if you will. That's what the Pandya king says. And of course, the traveler, he says, well, I let me tell you what I know. He says, well, first of all, prepare for the rainy months during the other 8 months of the year. Well, that's a profound statement, right? To prepare for the rainy months during the other 8 months. Well, the Pandya king said, oh yeah, that's good, that's profound, etc. So I know how to do that, I will do that, etc. And then the traveler says, prepare for the night during the day. And of course, the king will say, oh yeah, that's profound too. And of course, I should do that as well, prepare for the night during the day, because, you know, it's at night time, it's hard to go out looking for things, etc. So, you know, if you have to cook in the night, evening, dark, after dark, obviously you have to procure all the goods in the daytime, etc. So prepare for the night during the day. That makes sense, he said, and that's profound as well. What else? And so now the traveler says, prepare for old age during your youth. Well, yeah, to prepare for old age during youth. That also makes sense, right? So that's a profound thing to say. And the king says, yes, okay, that's wonderful as well. Do you have anything else for me? And then the traveler gives him a fourth word of wisdom, and that completely flummoxes, you know, that baffles the king. Now, what is that fourth one? He says, the traveler says, prepare for the next life, for life beyond this life in this current life. So prepare for the beyond in this current life. So that was the fourth thing that this traveler said. And this completely baffled the king, because the king had no idea what to do in this life to prepare for the beyond, for anything that comes after this life. So he was completely baffled. So he went back to his court and asked his minister, what exactly does this traveler mean when he says we should prepare for the next life right now, not wait for that next life, but prepare for it now. And the minister, you know, himself not knowing exactly what to do in this life, he said, well, you know what, let's have a contest. Let's invite all the learned people from our kingdom and let them talk about what we should do in this life to prepare for the beyond. Okay, so there was a contest that the king held. So he invited all kinds of learned people. And periyAzhvAr, living in Sri Villaputtur, the Emperor appeared in his dream, and he said, you know, you should go and take part in this contest. But of course, periyAzhvAr says, I don't know anything. You know, I'm not a knowledgeable person. And Emperor says, you will do fine. Just go ahead and take part in that competition. So periyAzhvAr goes and takes part in that competition, a reluctant participant, if you will. And you know, guess what? Guess who wins that contest? Of course, periyAzhvAr wins that contest. And what does he do? He actually quotes from Vedas, you know, and all the Smritis, etc., the Itihasas, the Puranas, etc. And all of that he does. So what the essence of what he argued was that in this life, we should surrender to Emperor. So he essentially said Emperor is the supreme thing, and we should all surrender to Emperor in this life so that we can attain salvation in what comes after this life. And he did that by quoting examples from Vedas and all the Smritis, you know, including when I say Vedas, I'm including Vedantas as well, the Upanishads as well, and the Smritis, the Itihasas, the Puranas, etc. And so he does an absolutely wonderful job. And when he did that, there is the bag of gold coins which is suspended on a pole as the prize money. And that pole bent and lowered the prize money to the reach of periyAzhvAr, which is a way of signaling that you have given the best answer. So those kinds of wonderful things used to happen in those days, and no human being had to sit and judge which of the various contestants gave the best answer. The porkiri itself, that bag containing the gold coins, which was suspended from a pole, the pole itself was smart enough to figure out what the best answer was. So the pole bent and lowered the prize money to the reach of periyAzhvAr. And periyAzhvAr, kiri aruttar means he cut that bag of gold coins and he took that prize money. And of course, he used that prize money for, you know, something good. He used it for the temple, etc. But since he had won the contest, the Pandya king got the answer that he was looking for, namely that Emperor is the supreme being. And in this life, one should surrender to him. And that is what you should be doing in this life to prepare for the beyond. So the king was excited by this answer. The king had found the answer to that mysterious thing that the traveler had mentioned. So what he did was he celebrated periyAzhvAr. He celebrated periyAzhvAr. So he paraded him. He made him sit on an elephant, and he took him in a procession through the streets of his kingdom, of Madurai, of his capital. And while periyAzhvAr was being paraded on an elephant, while he was being celebrated, Emperor Man wanted to come and see his Bhagavata being celebrated. So he came on the Garuda. And at that time, periyAzhvAr saw him. And you know what? Normally we would say we would be very happy that Emperor Man gave us his appearance, and we would be praying to him, etc. But that's not what periyAzhvAr did. periyAzhvAr looked at Emperor Man, and he was so beautiful. You know, he was so glorious in form. The first thing that occurred to him was, you know what? There is going to be drishti on Emperor Man. So there's a picture here of Emperor Man appearing on Garuda Vahana with his piratis and giving his darshan to periyAzhvAr, who is on this elephant. And of course, the people of the Pandya kingdom celebrating it. And of course, the first thing, and of course, periyAzhvAr having the kiri in his hand, the bag of golden coins. And now the thing that occurred to periyAzhvAr was, you know, the Emperor Man is so glorious. He has to be protected from the evil eye, from drishti. And that's why he sang Pallandu. So you see, the way he looked at Emperor Man was as a person who needed protection. The way a mother would look at a child and say, oh no, குழந்தைக்கு திருஷ்டி விழுந்துற போறது, அதுக்கு நான் காப்பு கட்டணும். So that's the way he looked at it. So therefore he sang Pallandu, you know, may you live long, etc. So it was a clear role reversal. Normally we get blessings from Emperor Man. We ask him to bless us, long live you, Bhagavata, etc. But in this case, the Bhagavata was blessing the Emperor Man. Oh, long live the Emperor Man. Pallandu, Pallayirattandu, Palagodi Nurayiram, etc. So he composed Pallandu, wishing him longevity. And that's exactly the opposite of what a Bhagavata would typically do. You know, Bhagavata would be worried about, please give me this in this life, please give me that in the life beyond, etc. That the periyAzhvAr did none of that. Instead, he sang essentially a blessing of Emperor Man. And because that was something very unusual, it was a great act. So it was a periya act. Periya, great, of course, means periya, or periya means great. So that the name periyAzhvAr essentially derives from that. And so that's the reason that that's how Tirupallandu was born. And you will see this episode, how periyAzhvAr won that kiri, won that bag of gold coins. You will see that appearing repeatedly in the Taniyans that we are going to see. Okay, so the name periyAzhvAr derives from it. And there are 21 padigams in this Yashoda Bhavam. Remember that there are 473 pasrams in periyAzhvAr Tirumuri. And there are about 21 padigams. You know, a typical padigam has about 10 pasrams or so. Some of them have more. So 21 padigams in Yashoda Bhavam, including Padadi Keshantam description of child Krishna. Now the Padadi Keshantam, that is starting from the feet, Pada Adi, that is starting from the feet, Kesha Antam, Kesha of course means the hair, the head, Kesha Antams, and finishing with the head. So we are already familiar with the Padadi Keshantam description of Emperor Man in various other places. You know, Tiruppanazhvar in Amarnadi Piran has done that. And of course, following that fine template, Bhagavad Dhyana Sopanam was created by Swami Deshikan. There are also forms that uses that Padadi Keshantam. We also saw that in Narayaniyam, in the last part of the Narayaniyam, there is a Keshadi Padantam description of Emperor Man. But anyway, so now this is more or less the fourth place in which there is a description of Emperor Man, but the child form of Emperor Man, child Krishna, starting from the Padam and going up to the Kesham. We are not going to go through that. I just wanted to indicate that that also is included in this Yashoda Bhavam, where Yashoda describes the beauty of child Krishna starting from the feet and going all the way up to the Kesham. So what I will do is, I think we are reaching the end of that of the time for today. So I will stop at this point, and I will resume from where I leave off, and I'll do that next week. Okay, this is a very beautiful portion of periyAzhvAr Tirumuri, that is this Yashoda Bhavam, and the padigam that we have chosen is a particularly nice one, because normally Krishna is known for his mischievous childhood, and we are already familiar with that. You know, Taye Yashoda Undan Ayar Kulattaditta, etc. by Uttukadu Venkata Subbayar. We know that he was very mischievous. We know that he stole Vennai, etc. But I want to expose you to the helpless Krishna, the child. And in the part where he is that helpless child, there you will see the bond between the mother and the child evolving very beautifully, because you will see that Krishna is at once a helpless child and also the supreme being of this universe. You will see that dichotomy played beautifully by Yashoda in the particular padigam that we are going to start learning from next week. So once again, I'll finish by chanting the Charama Slokam. So Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Masuchaha Mangalam Kosalendraya Mahaniya Gunabhaye Chakravarti Dhanujaya Sarvabhaumaya Mangalam. So, and then Sarvam Krishna Arpanamastu. I'll stop here.